Well, nothing's ever easy. Here I am wanting to take this camper off the truck for the first time temporarily, and I've been out here working all morning trying to make that happen. The thing with these tripod jacks is they have to be on a very firm, very level surface. And you can see here that this is leaning a little bit to the left. You got to get a real level and check it. But here is what I had to do over here. You cannot use these tripod jacks very close to anything. You've got to have 4 or 5 feet of clearance. You can't just back up against a wall and take the thing off. It won't work that way. This wasn't level, and I've been out here digging for a couple hours. I'm an old man. I shouldn't even be doing this shit. So anyway, you got to get a real level and get this thing. So well, I can't even show you because I got this stupid hardware on there, but you got to get this thing level in and out and sideways, and you got to either shim it very securely or dig, or both. I've had to do both here. But what that means is, if you think you're going to drag your tripod jacks along with you and easily take your camper off and set it down so you can free up your truck, you're probably in for a very rude awakening. These things are really made to be used on concrete or pavement where everything is dead flat, very stable and level. And out in the real world, especially if you're going to go camping, it ain't that way. So here I am trying to make this thing work in my yard, and you can see that it's still tilting to the right. I'm going to have to put another shim under there. So much for doing this temporarily. What a crock of shit that is. So, I don't know. I didn't want to put corner jacks on here because they, you know, they really wrench on the structure of the camper, which isn't that robust to begin with, and they introduce a lot of water leaks, and then the thing goes to hell. And that's why this thing has survived all this time. But gee many Christmas, what a pain in the ass. So I've had this before, and take a look at this camper, and you can see where if anybody screws up with this because they're not being careful, they're going to damage the camper, because that thing would dig right into the side. And let's go over here and look at the other side. I'm pretty sure that some Yahoo did this damage with these camper jacks. I'm pretty darn sure. It just looks like it, straight up and down like that. That's probably what that was. So you really have to be careful with these things. I had a set of these before, not quite as good as these, and I got into trouble. And you know, you can just put a hole right through the side of your camper in no time flat. So anyway, I've got to take this thing off and set it down on pallets and get some overload springs in this thing, because it's sitting right down on the frame. These old springs are worn out, and they were undersized anyway. But I can get some heavy-duty springs that'll bolt in that come from a 4x4 extra cab or a pre-runner, and same length, same bracket, same bushings, but an extra leaf and 1,500 pound capacity, and that'll get us close to where we want to be. Well, now we kind of got to the Jesus moment here. Well, we got this thing lifted up off of the bed, and we guessed right about the balance point. Seems to be balanced pretty good. It's pretty close to level both ways. I don't know if you can see that or not. And we've got it free. It's not connected to the truck anymore. We took the strap off the top. we took the turnbuckles out of the back. The wires, no wires connected to it, no wires dragging that can catch on the truck. And so we're wondering, Jesus, is it safe to pull this thing out of here or not? So what I'm going to do is shine my light down in here and try to see if this thing is rubbing against the wheel well, and I can't really see it. I'm going to have to put my hand in there, but I can tell that this thing is not on the truck symmetrically. So there might be a little bit of friction there. What I'm going to do is raise the thing up another 2 or 3 inches so that it can't, the bottom of the box can't drag across the wheel well and yank this thing off the tripods. So now you can see there's about a 1/2 inch of clearance between that box and the wheel well, but I'd have to raise it another 6 or 8 inches to get it above the wheel well, and I'm not willing to do that. Too dangerous. Let's go look on the other side. Sorry for the waving camera. You can see how much space there is on this side. There's almost 5 inches on this side, so it wasn't centered in the truck well. I had guys telling me it was okay, but clearly it wasn't. So you can look here at the window in the center of the cab and see, if you've got a good eye, that it's not centered. So I think this is a by guess and by God moment where if we drive it absolutely straight out and don't turn, we'll be okay. I think maybe I'll get my wife out here to watch, because doing this alone is just scarier than hell for me. Well, with my wife's help, got this thing lowered down on some blocks temporarily. Still supporting the sides a little bit with the jacks, because there's no supports in the middle. But at any rate, she stood by and held it and made sure, just touched it and made sure it wasn't moving at all while I drove the truck out. And then she watched the levels here, and I just let one side down a little bit, let the other side down a little bit, back and forth, until we finally got it down on the cribbing. So now I'm going to go get some pallets, because the floor of this thing is just framed up with 1x2s with the plywood over the top of it. It's not a heavy solid plywood sheet on the very bottom. So I want to get some supports under the whole thing. Well, here it is, 4:30 in the afternoon. I had my shower and I got my pajamas on. That's how tired I am. But at any rate, here's the Davlin camper set up on blocks. A little bit of lateral support from the camper jacks, but not much. So a little bit of tension on there. And all in all, done pretty good. Not going anywhere. I discovered that the bottom of this thing is not a heavy piece of plywood, but rather it's some 1x2 framing with a plywood floor on top of it. So I took a 2x4 and ran it the length of the thing and put a little bottle jack for support in the middle of it, just to stiffen up that floor, because I want to be able to go in there and work on it. Not, I think, the way most of these are built, but that's the way this one is built. And it lets you look at the framing on the floor and stuff, and there's no rot, there's no water stains. This thing must have been living under a carport or something somewhere, because it was just not finding any water damage in it anywhere, which is quite exceptional. So we'll try to do the same for it. I guess either we'll get one of those Harbor Freight tent garages, or else we'll get an aluminum one. Here, the hummingbird and wants to get in the picture. One of those aluminum ones with the steel uprights, and if it's not too expensive, maybe we'll do that. Anyhow, there it is. Going to be a lot easier to work on it now that it's not over 2 feet off the ground. It's a foot closer to the ground, and it'll be a lot easier to do things on the roof now with a extension ladder or with a step ladder, and yada yada. So anyway, that's one long day's work, but mostly because I had to prepare the place for it to land and gather the dunnage and do everything alone, except thank God for my wife, who came and made sure it didn't move at all while we backed the truck out, and then watched the levels as I ran back and forth between the winches and lowered it down. Anyway, good result. Not bad for day 2 of having the thing.